Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Hi, I'm Jean Pete. Thanks for joining me again this week, and I'm so excited to have a past guest returning. For those of you that are with me every week, you are going to remember Bonnie Ross Parker, who is an incredible inspiration and motivation, an author, and has quite a journey to talk to us about today. And today she has brought Patty Tucker. We are going to talk all things, really, I'm even going to label it empowering women. Both of these wonderful women are breast cancer survivors, and we're going to talk a lot about breast cancer, the journey, the positives, the trials and tribulations, and what these two wonderful women have to say that will keep you inspired and motivated and empowered, whether you know anyone that has struggled through a breast cancer diagnosis or not. This is going to be a powerful show, and I'm so excited to be here with you again this week. So, Bonnie, welcome back.
Thank you, Jeannie, for having me. I'm
Patty,
feeling emotional.
I'm happy to have you here, too.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, you can't start crying before we get the show started, Bonnie.
I know.
So,
anyway.
I know you've been here with me before, and I'm blessed to have you back again this week.
Thank you.
But let's kind of rewind for a minute for those listeners that weren't able to listen to the last show that you did a few months back. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I said, Bonnie, you're coming back so we can get you back on the show because you are such an inspiration. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about where you were, what you were doing, and then how things changed along the way.
Well, things can change, as we all know, in a moment's notice. So August of 2014, the beginning of the month, I went in for my annual checkup. And I think that's important because I hope all of you that are listening are absolutely adamant in making sure that you have some regular checkups that can assure you of a good outcome. Well, anyway, my outcome was not as good as I had previously, and after several tests and so on, I came to the realization that I too was going to be involved in the breast cancer community. And you know, at first, and I know Patty's going to share too, at first it's so startling, it's so scary, it's so uncertain. But as my journey unfolded and as the resources presented themselves and my strength eventually came back, I came to realize that that journey that I was on starting last August, over a year ago, was one of a lot of growth, a lot of new connections and so on. And having us at this particular time of year with breast cancer awareness coming up was a great way for us to begin to really share what our journey's been like and how we can empower others in their own journey. And it may not be you, the listener. It may be a loved one, a neighbor, a friend, somebody at your church, somebody that you have a relationship with. But if we can do something to help others in their journey, then that's part of what I would like my legacy to be, that we're not alone and that we can be vulnerable and open in a way that can inspire other people. And so that's why I chose to be here with you and with Patty and for us to share our story and give your listeners hope and belief that they can get through this too.
And I think there's so much aligned with not just if you were diagnosed with breast cancer, but any life-changing illness. There's a lot that everybody can learn from your ladies' journeys, how you handled it and where you brought yourself from and where you're helping others, how you're helping others through their journey right now.
Absolutely.
So breast cancer, whatever happened to you, stay tuned because we've got some great information to share with you and hopefully motivate and inspire you to keep on keeping on. So Patty, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're Patty Tucker.
I am Patty Tucker, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer in December. But I want to take you back a little bit. When I was 12, my mom passed away from breast cancer. And then when I was 30, my sister was diagnosed. Right around that same time, a first cousin was diagnosed. So when I looked at a pattern, and I think this is really important for listeners to, look at their history and what's going on and pay attention to what's, in your family. Because when I looked at the pattern, everyone was diagnosed in their 40s. So when I turned 40, I really went and searched resources. And I got an amazing team of doctors that I've had for the past 8 years. So not only with those team of doctors, but what I did was I made sure, I know Bonnie mentioned it, getting those, yearly mammograms. And what else could I do? So when I was actually diagnosed in December, I was diagnosed at stage 0 because we caught it so early, which, but the other thing I chose to do was I chose to have a bilateral mastectomy. So this year has been a really, it's been a really tough year, but at the same time, it's been really rewarding because I've met so many incredible people and resources in my life. And I think the biggest thing that I want the listeners to get out of this is I've been able to be such an inspiration in so many women's life. Absolutely. And that, to me, has been so incredibly rewarding, just from resources to just being there to hold their hand, go to appointments with them.
Inspire them to get checked and screened so they can catch it at ground zero as well.
Because if you catch it, early detection is the key.
It is.
And it's for any illness. Like you mentioned, other illnesses,
no matter
chronic,
what.
It doesn't matter. Early
Be
detection
proactive in your own care,
is the
for sure.
key.
Now, I have a few questions for you. Okay, so your mom was diagnosed when you were 12.
Actually, I was 8. She passed away when I was 12.
Oh, so she lost her. And what stage was she in when it was found?
This was really interesting because she found the lump and she was scared. And I think there's so many women out there that are scared. They find something and they don't want to go get checked. Mm-hmm. So she was one of those women that she did not get checked. Mm-hmm. And Jeannie, by the time she went, it had spread.
Yeah.
It had spread.
So we're talking late stages, 3 or 4.
So, this was, I'm 48, and so this was, 36 years ago that she passed away. I mean, things were different then and whatnot, but she let it go. And she went when she first found that lump,
right,
her outcome could have been different.
Right, and that's why I asked. Mm-hmm. And now what about your sister?
My sister was immediately, they caught her on a mammogram, and it had spread to her lymph nodes. I believe she was like a stage 2 or stage 3, and she had chemo and radiation, and she is a survivor now, 18 years.
Wonderful.
18 years. So.
And the reason I asked that was for that reason. You've got to take your own health into your own hands. You've got to be responsible to get those mammograms. I don't care what the controversy is around the mammograms. Go and get yourself screened because screening is better than nothing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that was going to be my next question for you. How did they find it? What tests did they do? Knowing your history, was the mammogram the recommended testing, or were there other tests that you had as well?
Okay, so I'm going to share that. The first thing I'm going to tell the listeners is you really have to pay attention to your body, because I'll tell you something. I had taken a trip to New York City, and I can tell you exactly where I was. I was right on the corner of 34th Street in front of Macy's, and I was with my daughter, and I had this twinge. I really had this little twinge in my left breast, and I thought, that's an interesting feeling. So when I came back, this was in September.
When you say twinge, what do you mean?
It just like a little kind of, as women, sometimes our breasts have that, you get those little weird feelings, or, it's like a little pain, or, this was different. It was definitely different. And it kept going on. So it wasn't every day, but it was definitely something noticeable. Like I would go, God, what is that? So when I came back, I wasn't even back home maybe a couple of days, and I got a phone call that a dear friend of mine was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I went, okay. And I knew I was due, and I just had my mammogram, but it was clear. Now listen to this. My mammogram was clear, but I also, because of my history, I also did MRIs. So I knew I was due for my MRI. So I called breast care specialist, here in Atlanta, and I said, I need to come in for my MRI, and they got me in middle of November. It was the MRI that detected it, not the mammogram. The mammogram was clear.
And that scares the daylights out of me right there, because we're telling women, go get your mammograms. I'm still telling you, go and get your
Absolutely.
mammogram. But I want to take it further than that. And I know it's costly, and I know it's going to be out of pocket because the insurance company isn't going to cover it, especially if there's no history in your family.
Right.
But there's got to be better tests. We've
if
interviewed some folks.
If there is a history, though, they will cover it, and that's the thing. You just
If
have
there's
to
a
be.
history.
Yes, absolutely, they will, and you just have to be persistent about it. And it's not a bad test, but it was. I mean, when she called me, she said, "Patty, I can't be 100% sure, but it's like a hiccup. Like if you imagine the way they do an MRI is they inject, they hook you up, with IV and they inject fluid into your breasts. And the fluid should just run smoothly, just like water running through a tube. And if it slows down at any point, if there's just a little hiccup in it, that's kind of their indication, hey, there might be something there, something's going on. And that's what she called. She called and she said, there was just one part, and the interesting thing was, there were two really interesting things. It was my left breast, exactly where I felt that twinge.
We have to pay attention.
So we have to pay attention to our bodies. Our bodies tell us, they really do. And it was interesting because the tech came in and she said, Patty, I'm just going to take a couple more films of that left breast. I'm just going to, and I knew. I said, okay, go ahead, take.
Wow, that's crazy. So, Bonnie, let's go back to you. I know you've got something to say here, I can tell.
Well, I do, because mine was just the old annual checkup. So I didn't have any warning signs. And because, at my age, at that time I was just about to turn 70. I hate to say that, 70.
You should see her. She
oh my gosh, she looks
amazing.
incredible.
Mine was just the annual thing. So it's like, it's so casual when you reach that stage, and so different from Patty. It's casual. Oh, I have to go for my checkup again, And then to find out, like 3-4 weeks later, that I'm facing this situation, that I took such a casual outlook in going. But the good news, and what Patty was sharing, is that I do what I'm supposed to, or what is in my best interest. So anyway, our stories are very different.
But when you say your annual checkup, so you went to your physician for your annual, you had a little breast exam, and he said, okay, we're going to send you over for a mammogram? He
said, do you do self-exam, which I do, but this particular spot was very close to the nipple, and I've always been very sensitive there, so it wasn't an area that I would necessarily test. I always thought it was more around in the fatty area and your lymph nodes, your armpit, and so on. So it wasn't an area that I would have self-detected, which... when he said, I'm going to do a checkup, I'm like, well, okay. I wasn't concerned about it. I wasn't embarrassed about it. I just thought, well, go ahead, but you're not going to find anything. And that started, like with Patty, that started the ripple effect where then I had to go for additional testing, then the MRI, and then the ultrasound, and all the things that one does to ensure the most accurate result. And I do want to mention, because I know with Patty having the genetics attached to her story, I did go for genetic testing. I have a daughter that's Patty's age. She's 48. And we were very concerned and very... it was important for us to know whether genetically Elizabeth was... predisposed, and thank God it turned out fine. And that was worth taking that test to make sure that she had a bit of confidence in that regard. So
much to talk about here. I want to talk about genetic testing too. I want to talk about daughters and family members and spreading the word. But let's take a minute to just step back. I want to walk folks through. Patty, when you were talking about you just knew, and no, actually it was you, Bonnie, when you were talking about you didn't even think about it, and then it throws you into a tailspin, and when you first hear about it, how you feel. I remember going for a mammogram, and it was one of my first. I think I turned 40, and the doctor's like, guess what? You're 40 now, so this is what you have to look forward to. I didn't think anything of it, like you, Bonnie. I'm just going to go. This is going to be crazy. It's not going to be comfortable. I really wish a woman would create a new machine that we could figure out would do this for better. Anyway, I went for the mammogram, and shock to me, they had somebody else come in and do more and dig around more in there for this mammogram. And then they got the I think it was the ultrasound out. And then they had me wait. They wanted the doctor to come out. It's now 5 o'clock. I've been there for an hour and a half. I'm sitting in the waiting room for 45 minutes waiting for the doctor to come out. Of course, I've made 3 phone calls and I'm in tears because I am absolutely certain I have breast cancer.
Yeah.
Because why else would they do that? Luckily, I did not. But I felt that. for 45 minutes. And I cannot imagine, it's not certain. I never heard the words. So no matter what I was feeling in that fear, I got a taste of what that's like. I want you to walk some folks through the moment you get that diagnosis and what happens, and then how you get through that to the next step.
Well, I will tell you from the onset that I did not say anything until to my husband until sometime afterwards.
Wow.
Because I did not want to, and he was with me the entire journey, and I'll share a little bit of that, but I didn't want to put an alarm out there unless it was necessary. So when I went for my annual checkup, he knows the doctor because he works with it. He also goes to him annually, and it was like, how'd it go? It went fine, because at that point I didn't really have a diagnosis. I said, but he wants me to do another mammogram, and I'm like, oh, how I hate that compression, all that. But he just wants to make sure. So then I went again. But after that, when they moved me to the next step, which I think was the ultrasound next, that's when I told my husband, because I felt at that point there was definitely a red flag. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been going through that. I have to say that when you start out, it's almost disbelief and denial. I mean, it really is. You think, oh my gosh, I'm 70 years old and I don't smoke and I'm a vegetarian and I've led a healthy lifestyle, all of the above. And suddenly I'm faced with something at that age, at that stage, believing that I'm healthy. And for me personally, a lot of what I got through was because of the support, and my husband really not so much taking over, but really being there to walk it with me almost step by step, really ease some of the anxiety, because I felt like I could transfer some of the anxiety
He's
to
got
him.
This. He's got
and
me.
that's just honest,
That's great.
so that I would not be alone. And the word journey has the word hour in it, O-U-R, and I just saw that as, okay, if it had been him, it would have been our journey. It was me, it was our journey. But it wasn't until a test or two later that I recognized that, yes, I was told you do have the malignancy and we are going to have to treat it.
And at
it's
that
scary.
point,
It's scary. It is.
At that point, what are your first questions? What are the statistics? Are you looking for the numbers? Or I'm trying to figure out when do you start saying, okay, I'm afraid of the journey, but I'm going to be here.
Well, I'm very faith-based. I'm very spiritual, and I'm very faith-based, and I've had other pretty significant challenges in my life, and I really relied on my own strength and my own conviction that, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not going to be the only one in the future. I'm going to make this work. I'm not going to go into the why me. I'm not going to go into the, how come. I'm not going to go into what happens if. It was more like, okay, I can handle it. I've handled other things. I can handle it. I can get through it. Northside Hospital was incredible. I know, Patty, I think you went through Northside also. Mm-hmm. And the minute you start this journey and you realize there's so many and so many resources and loving and caring people, it's almost like you turn yourself over to support and allow them to help you. And I found that was one of the biggest pieces toward my healing and my outcome, was just trusting the diagnosis, trusting the doctors, trusting my own ability to do the right things and to have the right attitude. And, I look back now, and Patty and I shared this before we went on the air, how emotional it is to realize what you learn from a journey like this. Both of us said almost at the same time that if we had to do it over, it's not something we would choose to do, but what we learned as a result of that, our resilience, our strength, the people we've helped, the journey was worth it for the outcome that happened. And that's not easy to say, but even for men, they'll say, oh, had a heart attack. Now I'm eating healthier, I'm exercising, I've lost weight.
It can be a wake-up call. Yeah.
We learn, and then we move on.
And you live a fuller life.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you
and
understand.
a more appreciative life,
That's
too,
exactly right. I love a couple of things that you said. OUR is in the word journey, hour. And I'm so thankful. I've met your husband, and the relationship the two of you have is beautiful. And so for you to have that rock in him was wonderful and helpful. But you had that rock anyway, is what you were saying, because you're so faith-based. You never were alone. Physically, you also had your husband here to help you. But for those people that may not have that support, what you said about the community of breast cancer survivors and the community of resources. Nobody, I don't care how alone you think you are, has to go through this journey alone. And before we started this show, you alluded to that, Patty. I want you to talk a little bit about that. And how there's so many resources and you just don't ever have to be alone.
No, you don't. It's really amazing. You know, I'll tell you, when they called that, it was the Monday before Thanksgiving.
Oh.
And we were on break, and I was enjoying a wonderful cup of coffee, and we had family over, and, you know, it was just going to be a joyous week. And I asked the nurse, I said, are you sure you have the right chart? Like, check again, because,
wow,
you know, everyone in my family had got it in their early 40s. So here I was, 47. It was kind of almost like I thought I had escaped
you were done.
it. I really thought I had. So I was thinking, so I was in shock. I really was. I mean, I walked around for 2 days, and I'm a person that just, the conviction and the strongness in me is I can't even describe it. So I got a pad of paper and I started writing everyone that I knew that was empowering to me. Susan Brown, who Bonnie and I, you know, do the sisterhood with, you know, she was one of the first persons I called, and I said, I need you to walk me through this. I need you. And I just started, because you don't realize the support system that you have out there. And I think this is a mistake that so many people make, is they hide it, and they stay quiet, and they just wallow in their fear. And you can't do that. You can't do that. Bonnie and I were talking earlier, and one of the things she said, you know, why did you go public with your journey? Because we were talking about that. And I said, you know, I didn't at first, but then I decided to go public with it because I wanted people to be inspired. I wanted people to know that this doesn't have to be scary. And, you know, there are so many resources out there. And the more I started journaling and the more I found, it was incredible. It was honestly incredible. The people that came and gave me resources and
support, you know, and help and a hand and a hug and whatever.
Oh my gosh, and cards, and you can do this, and let me give you this tip. And
I so believe that,
oh my word,
in adjunct to the medical care that your doctors are giving you, it is so vitally important for you to be in the right place, attitude-wise, soul-wise, brain-wise.
You have to be.
I had a kink in my neck, and I caused a pinched nerve, and I was miserable for a month. And I would just sit there sometimes and visualize me like punching that disc back in between those bones to get the relief from that nerve. And I truly believe that we have so much power within our own body to help us heal. So along with that medical support from the physicians and the hospital and the doctors, you have to have the right mindset to help yourself through the journey.
You absolutely do. You absolutely do. I mean, Susan coached me. She said, we laughed about it for days, because she said, find something like, and so I would zap myself. I would zap my left breast. I mean, I still do it. If I feel like a pain, I zap it, you know? And she was like, make something up that's funny.
Lord, we all need to zap ourselves a lot more often.
You know?
We have to take a quick break, but we have so much more to talk about. We still have to talk about your journey and some tricks of getting through the journey. We want to talk more about genetic testing. We have events coming up, so please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thanks for staying with me. There is so much energy in the studio today. It was hard to even get through the break because these ladies were chomping at the bit to keep talking to y'all. So again, I'm here with Bonnie Ross Parker and with Patty Tucker, and we are talking all things about women, empowering women, motivating and inspiring through their stories and their journey with breast cancer. prior to the break, we talked about getting the news and what it does to your psyche and what you need to do to get yourself the support that you need. Patty, right before the break, you were talking about you started writing letters to everybody who ever empowered you because you immediately knew you were going to need strong people to empower you to help you through this journey. And I saw Bonnie about coming out of her chair because you said the very first person you talked to was someone named Susan. Bonnie, what made that? You could barely hold back there.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, because Patty and I met through this mutual friend, Susan Brown, and the three of us, and of course Jeannie's going to be sharing about an event we're doing. Susan was the first person. It was just before the 12th anniversary celebration of my business, and Susan came over to help me stuff folders for the event. And Phil kept saying, you've got to, my husband, you got to tell her, you got to let her know what's going on. So I said, Susan, before you leave, there's something I want to tell you. And she was the first person I told. And she said, I have this amazing book. I think I have an extra copy in the car. Patty, I don't know if you have it, but Brenda Stockdale wrote this book about self-healing, and I want to gift it to you. And I said, okay. So we went downstairs and down into the parking garage. We're in an apartment. And she gave me the book. And then she said to me, is it okay if I pray on you? And I said, absolutely. That is the first prayer that was ever prayed on me in the garage of my apartment building. And we laugh about it now because she said, I don't think I've ever prayed on anybody in a parking garage before. But anyway, Patty is right. And there are so many resources, and I don't want to make it sound like, quote, there's resources. I'm just saying there's coaching, there's seminars, there's things you can go to, there's websites, there's books. All one has to do is be open to a bit of research. I mean, we're fortunate because we have the internet. You know, her mother didn't have the internet.
That's true. Right. That's
she
right.
didn't have the resources
Blogs
that we have
and community
now.
connections.
So there's no excuse, whether it's a man in prostate cancer, a woman with breast cancer, any of the other conditions that come at us unexpectedly. We have the means to get through it. People and resources and products, wellness products that all collectively can really ensure a good outcome.
And see, here's the thing. This show is called Better Living. I talk about how incredibly blessed I am. I get to meet people who are experts in their field, who have major journeys like y'all to share, and I get free knowledge while being empowered and inspired myself on a weekly basis. How cool is that? I'm so thankful and blessed every week to do that. So I want our audiences to do what the show says, better living, to live better, no matter where you're at when you get this diagnosis. And honestly, no matter what the outcome, you can, although you can't control the disease, you can control your life from this day forward. And how much better you're going to live your life with the cards you're dealt. And I truly believe your attitude and your thought. I love that she gave you a book on self-healing, because anything you can do, if we just give in to the sadness, you need to let yourself feel. Right. But if we just give in to this is horrible, this is woe is me, that's not going to help our bodies heal. And so I just want to empower everybody, as you two tell your stories, that no matter what the outcome is, your life can be better based on your attitude and how much you zap yourself, like you were saying before the break, Patty, and just keep on keeping on in the best way possible, because I really think the body has an amazing ability to heal.
It absolutely does.
I'd like to make one comment with what you're saying is, we're all talking, the three of us are sharing sort of our journey and our post-diagnosis journey. But what about caring for yourself before something happens?
Love it.
I mean, whether it's obesity or smoking or drinking or all the other things that one has control over that we overlook. Patty and I were already living a healthy lifestyle. If you saw us, you would know that we look healthy. Our hair, our complection, our weight,
just the
everything
energy
is
level
healthy.
too, yeah.
But there are a lot of people that are almost waiting for the hammer to hit to make the changes. This is a good time for you as listeners to say, okay, look in the mirror and say to yourself, this isn't about beauty, this is about health. Are you eating the right foods? Are you exercising? Are you walking? Are you feeding your mind with positive thoughts, positive affirmations? Are you surrounding yourself with the right people, or are you like, oh my God, this one died and this one has this and this one has that? That has no bearing on you. The only bearing that you have is what you feed your body, what you feed your mind. So we would say don't wait for the hammer to hit.
That's true.
Make a decision today, now, listening to two women who have had to go through the journey and through the struggle and through all of the things involved, the fatigue, the nausea, everything, and make a decision that I don't want to be there, therefore I'm going to do what I can now to ensure a better outcome. I think
love
that's
that.
a really important lesson.
I love that, Bonnie. And I will tell you, I've talked on the show many, many times about how I went through a weight loss journey. And a lot of it had to do, I didn't know at the time, but it had to do with exactly what you said. Are you surrounding yourself with the people that are empowering you and bringing positivity to your life, or are you surrounding yourself with people that are bringing negativity? Are you almost sabotaging yourself? And I had to take a hard look at that. And it was a journey. It wasn't just about weight loss. It was about a journey of loving myself and empowering myself for more positivity for my future. And I am so proud to say, recently, I went through a divorce and it affected my teenage son. And I tell people he ate his way through our divorce. So 4 years later, he was quite overweight. And it was over the summer, Bonnie, shortly after I had met you. And I said, we're going to take the bull by the horns here. And he too went through a huge weight loss journey, but that's really a character journey. It's finding out what you're worth, and whether it's weight loss or fighting an illness or going through a difficult financial time in your life, whatever that break is that changes you, pulling into your own being to come out as positive as possible. That's your character, and you have so much light inside your body. You just need to get in there and pull that out, and it helps you come out in the end. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I have a 17-year-old son who has now almost lost 50 pounds.
Wow, that's awesome.
50 pounds. And he said to me the other day, Mom, it's incredible. I'm so happy that I look better, but I feel better. And I'm getting ready to go to college, and I feel like there's nothing I can't do. I just have to decide to do it. That kind of positive feeling about yourself and the power you have within yourself. He put some folks out of his life because they were negative. He put boundaries up with some other folks that affected him negatively, and he is living his best life. And that's what I want our audiences to do. And that's what you ladies have done through a terrible diagnosis and journey. And so, this show's called Better Living. And if we only empower one person, whether it's pre-journey to make some changes so they don't have to face this journey, or whether it's somebody who just got this diagnosis and is so sad and so fearful and doesn't know what to do, to reach out and get those resources, or whether it's to empower somebody who's in the middle of the journey to keep on keeping on. Thank you, ladies, for being here. And I want you in the audience to know you have the power to live your best life, no matter what your situation is. I'm sorry, I just had to get on that soapbox because I know we are powerful beings, and I know our body is powerful, and I know that there's a whole lot more that we can do that we don't even understand that we can do to live well. And Patty's jumping off her chair. So what do you have to say about that, Patty?
Okay, so I want to share something because this is really wild. And I am always teaching others to, what you say, you bring about. Your mind, you have no idea how powerful your mind is. In August of last year, I took this class, and the class was you had to describe yourself in one word, okay? And it wasn't Susan Brown's class. I know Bonnie's looking at me.
Oh my gosh. I thought we took the same class.
No, it was a different. And the word I chose was scared. And the reason why I chose that word was because when my mom died, I was 12, and then my dad died, I was actually 17.
Oh my gosh.
So here we come, fast forward into December. I want you to realize my kids were 12 and 17.
Wow.
What I realized was I had kind of brought this on almost, if you want to say, myself. I mean, I hate to say that, but I really kind of felt that. And that's one of the reasons I reached out to Susan, because I was like, oh my gosh, I know better. I so know better. But being scared and living this scared life, here I am now, I'm fronted with this. And what I can tell, everyone listening is, oh my gosh, I'm not scared anymore. I took that, that week to kind of digest it, and I chose a different word. My word for 2015 was trust. And, I just said, I'm going to put all my trust in the Lord. This is going to be fine. I'm going to come through this. And I just, I dove in head first.
And where are you at now in your diagnosis?
And now I am a survivor.
Woo-hoo.
So I have my last surgery, hopefully my last surgery, October 28th for reconstruction.
That's
That's so great.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
Thank you.
It's so funny about the word, because when I was here last time, I think I shared with Jeannie, I thought we took the same workshop, which we didn't, because she looked at me, she says, no, it's not the same person. But the workshop I took was with Susan Brown, who we've already shared has had such an impact on both of us. And I had picked the word for 2015, of course it was post-diagnosis, as believe. And that's believe in myself, believe in the higher power, and so on. And just as I mentioned at the top of our conversation, the word journey has the word hour in it. I looked at the word believe, and I have several different signs in my office, and I took it to be B-E, and live, L-I-V-E, by just making the E really, really tiny. So believe for me was to be, which is the I am present, and to live like, like you really want your life to be wonderful. So it's interesting that Patty would share that, because there is power in your thinking and power in words. And I also had the word trust a couple years ago. So we have both learned that what you think and what you put inside and what you express has a major impact on the outcome. And fear obviously had a big impact on her, which she has shifted, thank God. And believe has had a big impact on me. And I think it's important for you as listeners to also recognize that you can come up with a word. What is that word that's going to take you through the rest of this year, through the holidays,
through the journey, through whatever,
through
the treatment,
can inspire you? Faith, relationships, connection, health, whatever it is for you. So health has the word heal in it, and I always think that's a good word too.
So you mentioned that you were given a book on self-healing. I think it's a gift for anyone who reaches out for help, because they realize they're vulnerable, they're weak, they're scared, and they need other people to be their column, their pillar, their rock. What books, ladies, because you've gone through the journey, would you recommend for folks that might just be entering into the journey right now?
Bonnie and I were given the same one by Susan, and it's amazing. And she's
Susan
actually
should be here. And she's
I know.
We're giving her kudos for sure.
We'll have to get her on a future show.
It's Surprising Factors Behind Cancer and Chronic Illness is one of them, and the author is Brenda Stockdale. I would highly recommend the book. It's an amazing book. I'm going to meet her in person in October, and I'm really excited about it.
But surprising factors behind cancer
and chronic illness.
And the website is her name, Brenda Stockdale, just like it sounds, Stockdale. It's not just about breast cancer, it's also about chronic illness. Choices, wellness, meditation,
how your mind plays. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and we're going to be talking about that, before our time is up, and she's going to be our guest speaker here in Atlanta. How fortunate for us. And she's going to talk about how one's mind can really affect one's outcome at an event that Patty and Susan and I
Let's
are
talk
sponsoring.
about this event.
Okay,
so
that'd
we
be
have,
great.
it's called Fully Alive, right? And it's the Sisterhood of the Pink Ribbon. I love that.
Three of us.
And it says, join the Sisterhood of the Pink Ribbon in a 3-hour life-enhancing and faith-filled event to renew your energy, refresh your hope, and recharge your health. That's wonderful, ladies. And so that event is Thursday, October 22nd between 10:30 and 1:30, and you can pre-register between 10 and 10:30, and it is $65 to attend. Is that correct?
It's 50 right now, but just if you give the website, or I'll give it, it's Sisterhood, the 3 W's, Sisterhood Pink Ribbon dot event, EVENT, bright, BRITE.com. Pink, Sisterhood Pink Ribbon dot event, EVENT, BRITE.com. All the information about Brenda and about the event is there. We feel so strongly that the sisterhood that will be there, the empowerment, the wisdom, the pink pearls of wisdom that we're calling them, please consider coming, bring a friend, a neighbor, treat somebody to this event. Maybe you've been a caregiver for somebody else. We want our community to celebrate wellness, and it is during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Patty and I can assure you that last October, we had no idea that we would be doing something a year later, but we are, and we hope it'll be an annual event, and that women will come away feeling just wonderful about who they are and what they're doing with their lives.
That's great, ladies. And that's going to be held at the Brookfield Country Club in Roswell, Georgia.
Yeah.
So that's a nice
Jeannie,
location,
there's a coupon code on there, too, for $15.
I see that. There's a promo code.
Yes,
so
there
I
is.
say 65, but it really is $50
right,
if you put the
so
promo code PINK15 in there.
Pink15 is the promo code, yes.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay. So again, ladies, this is October 22nd between 10:30 and 1:30 in Roswell at the Brookfield Country Club, and it is sponsored by or brought to you by Sisterhood of the Pink Ribbon. So go to their website at www.sisterhoodpinkribbon.eventbrite.com. And you can get further information. And there is a promo code PINK15, so it's only $50. What a wonderful $50 to spend. I think that this is going to be an event that you get far more than $50 back.
And we talked about resources earlier, and Patty, Susan, and I have been working at bringing wonderful resources to this event, and we're very happy that a women's room, which is affiliated with Northside Hospital, is one of our sponsors. That's where I got my wig, and Northside, that branch of the Northside facility is definitely behind this, and we think that's important because that center has done so much for other people, and it also has lots of literature there to help women and their caregivers navigate this journey to a women's room.
So I want to back up for a minute. I'm so grateful y'all are here. It is so inspiring and motivating and empowering, and I hope that we have done that to some of our audience members today, to all of our audience members today, but if not all, I'll go for some. But I want to back up a little bit and talk a little more about the details. We talked briefly in the first half hour about getting a mammogram and having it come out clear for Patty. And so then she was sent forward for ultrasound and MRI, and the MRI is what detected it. There is controversy about this because they're already saying women shouldn't even have to get mammograms every year, and insurance doesn't want to cover it and what have you. I'd be interested to know what you ladies are telling your friends who maybe don't even have a history of breast cancer in their family, how they can be proactive on their own health. What are you saying? Just get your mammogram annually?
I am, because I have had several friends that have had no history that have, been diagnosed.
And it's been caught in a mammogram.
It's been caught in a mammogram.
Okay. Because stats are stats, but if you have personal stories where people were able to catch things early because they were proactive and had that mammogram, I don't know how much a mammogram costs, but cover or not, we are in charge of our life.
Absolutely, and that's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm. There is new technology now, and I'm only sorry that I didn't know about it sooner because I probably would have gone that route, but thermography is becoming very popular. I personally know somebody that does offer that. It is not covered. Thermography is non-invasive, non-compression. It's done through pictures because your breast emits different levels of heat, and they can do, it's called the color and also the grayscale, and a technician is able to look at these pictures, which basically is just a camera that sits in front of you and takes pictures from the front, the side, and so on. But they can actually, based on heat, determine cellular differences And that, again, if compression isn't something you're comfortable with, or you'd like to do a new technology that doesn't involve X-ray, that's a route to look up as well, thermography instead
And we've
of mammogram.
had somebody on this show that has talked a lot about thermography, and I wanted to get into that, so that's just a wonderful segue
Yeah,
into
and
that.
I have a very good friend, and they can always get in touch with you, Jeannie, to get in touch with Monique. But that also is a great resource. It's gotten a lot of new press. It's not been covered yet.
It's not big, it's new, but it's fantastic. And it is.
And who cares whether it's covered or not?
It's very, very effective.
Well, I'm glad you're aware of it, because we both did the mammogram, because obviously who we went to, that's what they wanted us to do. And that's the more common way to detect. But non-compression with the picture, with the heat and the comparison, the grayscale and the colored scale, is also a way to determine whether cellular defectiveness is coming through the pictures. So,
and it is such a minimally invasive test, like
There's
you
no
said, Bonnie.
invasion.
It doesn't hurt. It's nothing. It's like just taking pictures of yourself, and the color coding based on the heat that is coming out from the different areas in your breast. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to re-air that show on thermography next week. So stay tuned. If you're listening today and you want to know about other options versus mammogram, I'm going to make it happen right now and re-air that show next week. So stay with us next week as well to hear more about that. So thank you for bringing that up, because I wanted to bring that up. Again, take your life into your own hands. Be informed and prioritize yourself. Nobody has an extra few $100s easy laying around. We never do. There's always something else that could come up. I had a leak in my ceiling last night. But you know what? A couple of extra $100, making yourself a priority, can bring you another 20 years, 30 years, 50 years on this earth. I think it's worth a few cents a day for the rest of your life. So thank you, ladies, so much. We didn't really get a lot into genetic testing, but I thank you for bringing that up. If there is a history in your family and you're concerned about daughters, nieces, sisters, it is something also to look into. Bonnie, can you share, was that a costly test?
Well, I'm fortunate because I'm on Medicare and my supplement covered it. There are some advantages of getting old, I will say. I'll go on record as saying that. But we're talking about peace of mind. And if you are predisposed because of family history and so on, Northside, which is, of course, where Patty and I got all of our advice and our treatment, they do have, as part of their protocol, it is an option, genetic testing. It's done through saliva, so I mean, there's nothing to it. But you do fill out a pretty extensive questionnaire, and you do get the results that can give you peace of mind for yourself and for those that love you, that genetically are connected with you.
So again, be informed, because there's lots of ways to help yourself and your family members as well. I do just want to remind you, because we never have enough time before we say goodbye to these ladies, they have this wonderful event. They're presenting Fully Alive on October 22nd between 10:30 and 1:30. And you can go to the website, which is www.sisterhoodpinkribbon.eventbrite.com, and put in promo code PINK15, and it's only $50 for a wonderful day supporting each other and getting through this journey together and informed. Patty, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It was so wonderful to meet you today. I appreciate your story and your strength. And Bonnie, it's always a pleasure to have you here. You're such an inspiration, and your energy just exudes positivity. So I'm Jeannie Pete. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day and week ahead. And listen here, same time next week and every week. Homestead Hope Foundation is your resource for a healthy life. God bless.